Hello and welcome. Our question today has which of the following is one of the solutions to the equation? So, is one, that might mean there are more than one solutions, but there's only going to be one of those solutions inside of the list that we're given. So, let's dive right into it. For this equation, we have an n squared, and as soon as we see that square, that means that what we're looking at is what we call a quadratic. Now, a quadratic has a couple of ways you could solve for this thing. You could solve it by factoring. You could solve it by completing the square. You could solve this by quadratic formula. Okay. Now there is a fourth method to solving, but in this particular case it's not going to apply. So for this problem there's going to be three methods of solving. Now, between you and me, I find factoring to be the fastest for quadratic, so I'm going to use that one, but just know there are two other methods in which you could use. Alrighty, so for factoring, the first step to any factoring problem is going to be GCF, right? Always check for GCF before you go any further in the problem. And right now we only have two terms. We have an n squared and a negative 81n. What do they have in common? Anything? Well, as it happens, they just coincidentally have an n in common, right? This first one has two n's from an n squared. This one has one n. They both share an n. So if we pull it out, the two n's, one's going to be left, minus 81, because the n here will just be pulled out and there'll be nothing left, equals 0. And at this point, you'll also hopefully notice that everything is factored. There's nothing more for us to do here because you have no more powers larger than 1, which means you couldn't factor this even if you wanted to. So then you set each factor, each variable, to 0. So you say, alright, so first one, n equals 0. There's nothing more to solve there. N equals 0 is a solution. Your next one is you have n minus 81. We set that to 0. Well, if we want to get n alone, adding 81 to both sides will do the trick. N equals 81. And you'll notice that 81 is on your list of solutions. 0 is not, but that's okay, because 81 is. And that would be your answer to this problem. Now, common errors for this one is hopefully maybe you notice that this is very, very similar to what we call a difference of squares. A difference with squares would be n squared minus 81. If that n was not there, then that means that you would have two factors. You had to have n plus 9 and n minus 9, which means 9 and negative 9 would have been your solutions. Right? If you set your n minus 9 equal to 0, 9 is a solution, n plus 9 equals 0, negative 9 is a solution. And you'll notice that both of those are on your list. Okay? So be careful, because that little n was there, the GCF was the way to go and 81 became a solution. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching.